See it.
All right. We good? Recording and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, we're actually just live streaming. Oh, not.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes. Yep. Makes sense. Cool. Hi, everyone. Go ahead. Here we are. Tuesday. Okay, so we're gonna do quick attendance, do approval of just last month, and then there are a few items that aren't on the agenda that folks have brought up wanting to talk about, so we can do that in the urgent business section, and then we'll jump into the agenda proper. Folks are cool with that. I'll start, we'll go around the room clockwise, and then we'll check in and see if we have anybody online. I am Amanda Paul.
I'm Sarah Lynch, Executive Director of Inclusivity.
Jane Sherwood.
Alba Siderden.
Kathy Contreras, Executive Director of La Rosa Growing.
Diana Fisher. Anissa Teslo.
Jessica Andrade.
Chelsea Starner, Assistant City Manager.
Jen Ender.
Have any online folks?
No,
Not us here, so. All right. The first order of business in the packet, we have meeting minutes from last month. If there are any corrections that need to be made or anything that's missing. Make the changes, otherwise approve them. Anything that anybody wants to update or make note of?
They looked fine.
Great. Okay, so urgent business, we can start with the Veterans Day proclamation that's not in the agenda. So after the agenda was published, Chris Workman reached out to me and Christopher and Crystal Weber, who's the city reporter, about reviewing the Veterans Day proclamation that we did last year, so that the council can read it for Veterans Day at the next council meeting. For us to review so that it could be read. We don't have any printed copies, but can have printed copies made if people want to review it, or if people who remember it want to. However, I don't know how you guys want to proceed with that. If we just want to blanket approve it, remember it, like knowing that we approved it last year, and just let council read it, or.
So I just real quick, it's not necessarily allowing them to read it because like if the mayor wants it on or
Right.
the city manager want it on there, it'll be there regardless of whether we have a recommendation
Okay.
to approve as is or suggesting any sort of edits. And so it's more of a, do we want to take the time to have them printed out, read, review, see if there's anything that stands out to try to edit it, and then, but I will note that while that might be something that people might be interested in, that I would think that we might want to focus more on the stuff that we have here already, and that might be too much time. But again, if people want to talk about it.
I'll just add that two things. Our city council meeting was moved up for November, so it's usually we have an additional week, but we are starting to pull our packet together for the council meeting tomorrow. So any kind of suggested changes would just be pretty quick turnaround and sent out to the council, just so you're all aware. And I'm just clarifying that you did bring it, or you did review it last year.
I don't remember who we did last
But
year.
you definitely have reviewed it, and if you didn't review it last year, you were kind of doing the same thing, saying, we have reviewed it. Okay.
We've had it for like at least 2 years,
Okay.
3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I remember you did quite a bit of work on it a few years ago. Okay. That's it.
Does anyone have any thoughts? Just, yeah, it's a little out of the ordinary but it's something that kind of came up after the packet came out, and came through an email, so. Anyone have any?
I think it's okay if we don't
Yeah,
review it.
it's been reviewed before. Basically, we're still happy with it. I don't think that there's anything where we're like, oh, we really need to add this
Yeah,
to
I
it.
think I think that I'm in agreement with that, if folks are. Cool.
Can I ask one thing?
Yep.
Did you have a consensus for the minute approval?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, no,
thank you.
no
I
changes
just
needed
missed
to be
it.
made.
Thank you.
No worries. And then, Alba, you had something you wanted to bring up that wasn't,
Just an update on the Philomath Fellowship, but I see that in the minutes last time, we noted that Philomath Fellowship will not meet through the end of the year, what format is reconsidered, so we already noted that. So maybe the update will be like next date for a meeting, but
yeah.
I don't know if we have that
I don't
yet.
think we have, yeah, we're just sort of, the folks who are involved in that, so a couple people from this group and some other external community members are just sort of regrouping and figuring out what that group looks like. So
Yeah.
we can share more information
Yeah.
when we meet again in January. Okay. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up before we get into things? So we'll jump into our updates and announcements. We had an event, I don't know why that's August 31st.
I don't know either.
Oh, I don't know why that says that.
Yeah, I don't know why it says it either, because the rest of the
Amazing.
agenda is fine.
Who knows what that was supposed to be?
Oh, was there an event on August 31st? Yeah.
No, it was just for Easter.
Right?
Oh, I
In
think
October.
that,
I think there was.
I think we
some-
were just, right, because we,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. I was like, you were mentioning that the
And
Inclusivity Committee was at the farmer's market.
yes.
And I don't think they were reported out on that last time.
I think we did, because unless that was a city council meeting in which I said, I talked to people. And Jane,
Yeah, we had we
Yeah.
did have little flyers there as well, for inclusivity.
thank you.
That was in October, though.
There was one in August as well. That was the one that was,
I think that there was just, yeah, so I think there was just an error on the agenda. Because on my updates and on the summary, I think something just didn't get transferred over right from the sheet. Because, so this was just on the regular agenda, but on page 4, which is the agenda item summary, we had 2 updates that we were going to report out on, which is the report out for the event that just happened in October, and then Jessica had an update on some of the Benton County Historical Society events. So those didn't get transferred over correctly. So D and E on the actual agenda for today are not correct. Which is bad to not notice things. So going off of page 4 of the packet, the first thing is just hearing how the event went at the farmer's market, and then Benton County. Do you guys want to
Sure.
report out on how
Yeah.
that went?
Rainy, wet. It was pretty good. We had a fair number of people stop by the booth. The farmer's market was not very busy because it was very cold and very rainy all Sunday afternoon. But we did talk to at least some community members. There were 2 people that were interested in learning more. I still have that tacked to my fridge at home. So in January, when we decide we want to start working on this for an event in September, we have at least 2 names to start with to begin community outreach and maybe find volunteers.
Awesome.
I also wanted to mention that Diane Crocker provided a list of local vendors, it says here, resources for the community, and we translated it into Spanish, and now we have that available also to use for the senior society.
Yeah, let's be really clear. There was no we here. I was the one that translated it. She did a great job. My Spanish is not strong enough to have, yeah. It's very kind of you to sugarcoat it, but no, that was not us.
That's a resource now that is available for the meeting.
Yes, because you kicked ass and got it done.
The flyer looks very nice, by the way.
That was all Crystal.
That was Crystal, yeah.
I gave her my ugly one, and she was just like, are you sure about that? I was like, you do your magic. And she did.
And speaking of this list of people that would be interested to help us organize something for next year, I was wondering what would be a good platform to share, like the invitation to participate or to help organize it.
I mean, honestly, if we want to do something, we could use like Google Forms, or if the city has like some preferred way of doing it, that would be easy. Then it's just a link that you hand out to people that has information at the top with what you're hoping to do, and then you can find out more by entering your email and contact info. How would you
like the city would help?
No, we would probably do that because it's an unofficial, it's not the city event.
Or an inclusivity committee event.
It's not the city
Yeah.
committee event, I don't
Okay.
think.
Or what wasn't the farmer's market thing?
No, what we're planning on doing next year.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't think we came to closure on what that will look like or what it will be, because right now, who knows?
okay.
As in, that's like a discussion to have also, like about
Yeah.
in the handbook related stuff.
Yeah, when we're talking about delineating what events are city events and what events are not.
Just wanted to make sure that's what you meant.
That is absolutely what I meant, yes.
Thank
Yep.
If I could clarify really quickly, I just was reminded when you said they weren't vendors, they were resources, and that's like a correction.
maybe yeah, for the minutes.
Okay.
Correct that. Oh, is it in the document somewhere?
Yeah, in page 2.
It's.
In the minutes.
Okay.
Last time we discussed that.
Do we have a consensus to change that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What line?
27.
27. Okay.
And also
resources.
to clarify, because I think we didn't have a chance to review the proclamation for the Hispanic Heritage Celebration, we should send it in advance next time, like 3 months in advance from September. So in
Yeah, I think that's,
July,
yeah, that's line 26 in here.
in the meeting during.
Yeah, in a minute. Yeah, it's like that we need to review it earlier because we didn't have a chance to. So yeah, June or July for sure.
Is that the planning of what would happen? Like, or is that like the outreach and research of who you're gonna collaborate with? What is the July?
Oh,
There's
so,
a proclamation that gets read by city council.
Okay,
That will be done in September or October, depending on where the meeting falls.
okay,
That proclamation needs to get reviewed by us before we pass it on to them.
okay.
That didn't happen this year, so nothing got read. So no, the planning
Yeah,
has
the
to
last
happen.
version we have is from 2023.
Yeah.
So we need to review that.
It's been a hot minute, yeah. No, the planning that we are talking about for like actually planning a heritage event is something that has to start happening in January. Like we need at least 6 months of lead time to figure out what we want to do.
does anyone else have anything they want to add from the events? Any, like, sounds like you guys had conversations about what went well and what didn't, as far as
Yeah,
future things.
I think we have a pretty good idea, like, people we would like to work with and maybe people we will not reach out to next time, just given how difficult it is. I know people are spread thin, but it's like very different community partners. So I'm like, okay, well, we tried and failed multiple times, so maybe we need to go somewhere else. But yeah, no, I think we have a good starting point for what we want to kind of talk about and plan.
Awesome. I think it was a successful start to, for the first time doing that.
People were definitely pretty warm and receptive toward it, so that was nice. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I'd like to add that it makes a huge difference, like when Albert has reached out to me or reached out to wanting to incorporate herself to attending groups that whether I've hosted or there's are going on in the community that my majority of the population are Latine, like it makes a huge difference because she is like representing or coming on in behalf of this group or wanting the desire to increase the participation numbers on color and inclusivity. So I just really appreciate that, and that's why I'm here today because she's shown up and it's been seen, and I want to be able to see if I can help in any shape or form because the La Rosa Growing Juntos is established in Philomath. So yeah, I just slowly but surely.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. Kathy was going to be with us at the booth. She couldn't attend that day, but we had her flyers there.
Yeah, you were one of the only people that actually like worked with us and got back to us, so thank you for that. And I'm very glad to see you here at the meeting today. Like, yes, we would love to work with you going forward, please.
So, just note that there are some updates about things happening with the Benton County Historical Society. Unfortunately, there wasn't much, like many new events right now at the Philomath Museum, but that's okay because at the Corvallis Museum they're having this Dia de los Muertos event on Saturday, and they also have a lecture coming up on the 6th, creating the creating the Indian agencies and removing the Calipuians. A lecture from Dr. David Lewis, as well as they're doing a Black History in Benton County tour on November 14th. And they're having a Native and Indigenous market, plus the opening of a photography exhibit, Matika Wilbur from Project 562 on November 20th. And information is copy and pasted into the packet for anyone online who is interested in learning more and to see now. Thank you.
So we'll move into the business section of the agenda. The first thing that we have is wrapping up edits on our handbooks. We did a lot of work in the edits at the beginning of the handbook during our last meeting. So if there's anything left that we didn't cover, if anyone has notes or changes on,
I'll note, since I was the one who did the things, the yellow changes, the highlighted changes are ones that I believe I reported correctly from that last meeting. And then anything else that is not highlighted is either original edits that were made or some workshopped language trying to get at a particular concept. And it's I could use some help with some of the workshop language. So I would very much appreciate that feedback in particular. But yeah, just to give information about the color coding on there. Oh, yeah, and then I separated out the community agreements and then just kind of gave a smaller section about it on, I think it was at page 7. I don't remember. I just kind of summarized it to a certain degree. Page 11, that's what it is. Section D. So yeah. Anyway, those were the major changes. Thank you.
Because we'll do, one of our agenda items is to go over community agreements, which used to live in the handbook, and we'll still reference those from the handbook, but having them sort of separate from the handbook and on the website is something easily accessible so that folks who are coming to the meetings or interested in potentially joining the committee can very readily see what work we've done there, what our sort of expected operations are of folks.
May I ask?
Yes, please.
Foregrounding that I'm a huge public administration and public policy nerd, and I'm seeing that one of your objectives is to remove barriers to specifically for historically marginalized groups to participate and engage with government. Somewhere, but that's summarized, that's paraphrased. Have you guys identified ways that this committee can operate to be inclusive in the way that you build agendas or invite or even like establish ground rules at the very beginning? Like, Kathy and I are new here and I had no idea where we could sit, right? Or how we bring in, and I'm just reading in the handbook that all who attend have an equal voice, right? But I didn't know that until I read that. So I've been nervous to participate.
Yeah.
And so just something like as you all are talking and bringing in new voices, like questions about, is a Google form culturally responsive way to do outreach to the Latino community, especially business owners who work on Main Street, like kind of identifying pieces that this committee could put into practice and model for other committees. So it's not just the Inclusivity Committee that's using inclusive practices, but test them and model them. Just like a wondering.
Yeah, no, I love that.
And maybe explicitly add that into your handbook, that as you identify barriers, you practice and ways to operate as a committee that's more inclusive.
Yeah, and it's a good point that you bring up because we are sort of different than other committees in that you can walk in and just sit at the table as opposed to like a budget committee meeting or something where you aren't part of that conversation unless it's a very short piece of time, right? And so kind of explaining that is a very good point to be made.
I think a way of
Yeah, a little bit to follow on that or to talk about my experience when I walked in. I think that's partly why I keep coming back, because it seemed like you can just jump right in. But at the same time, I read the information on the website before coming here, so I kind of knew what was going on. But just I was noticing that we introduce ourselves and we don't say much more, and maybe there's new people that we haven't seen before, and maybe I don't know if it will be something more. I don't know if we need to put it here, but just like in the meeting, if there's new people, we need to say a little bit more about why we're here.
Yeah. I like that.
like how you practice the objectives of being inclusive and building accessibility. And it doesn't have to be codified, like we do X, Y, Z in every agenda, but that committee like holds things you're experimenting with and testing as a ways to bring people in.
Yeah, because this, I didn't know how to, I mean, this is the second time Alba has invited me to the Inclusivity Committee. But as some of you know, the first time that I was here was to advocate for Zena, and she was a friend of mine. Well, I'm getting to know her, but when someone is reaching out for help and needing to have someone hear their voice, I am one to jump in feet first and be like, okay, how can I help? And so I wasn't sure if I really felt mentally prepared to come and be like, how am I gonna be here? Like, what kind of hat will I have? Will I be as a organizer in a fiscally sponsored organization I run? Am I a community member who lives in Philomath? So it's just like, it was uncertainty, really. And I'm like, I'm gonna listen, I want to like, I want to say something, I will say it, but like, I'm like, I want to feel this meeting out before, because I do represent a lot of the Latina community in Corvallis. Even though I've lived in Philomath for the past 15 years, I do not fully know the Latina families here in Philomath. Because I spend my time in Corvallis. And so Alba is the first Latina individual that I've met, and I've gotten to meet a little bit more, and I want to continue to getting to know her more, and helping her reach, so she's starting, and, being that voice for Spanish-speaking individuals in our community. Like, I'm like, I know I started in the same spot you are, of reaching out and finding ways and equitable ways to be able to know, like, how are we going to build this, right? And for like grassroots and reaching out and so forth. So that's why I'm here in this meeting today. And so so I just thank you for mentioning that, Sarah. Thank you, Alba, because like I'm feeling like, okay, this is a meeting that I think I can continue to come, and so yeah, I just wanted to mention that as it relates to this.
Get that. I think it is one of those things where I personally just sort of forget, right? Like, I come to this meeting and I am one of the people who puts the agenda together, so I've seen it. I usually know what's in it. Apparently, I messed that up this week. But so it's very easy for me to forget that not everyone has that context and is not in my own brain. So that is very good to know, because we want more people in this room. Like, we can get more done when we have more people and ideas, and so yeah, thank you for bringing that up, both of you.
Yeah, I'll just note that I was having that exact same thought of like, I'm a bit too close. I need to zoom out a bit more and like remember, because even though I might like invite someone and seem like, oh yeah, it's gonna be great, you can participate, you don't have to, like, when they get here, it's a different story, because like it's not, I don't know. There's something like when you're in person and everyone else already knows each other, and so appreciate the reminder. And perhaps we can, I mean, I would be in favor of adding a couple sentences about like reminding about the welcoming aspect of things in the agenda, and then and fleshing out a bit more about the explicitly saying putting things into practice, because like I think it's implied but not necessarily.
I think like
We've also been trying to figure out what we're wanting to do. We haven't gotten direction from council, and so it's like,
I do like the idea of including like, that we're trying to put this into practice, because it is practice. We definitely don't have it nailed down yet. But also, I think what I'm hearing, and I like that I'm hearing this from people that are not usually around this table, is that it would help if we started the meetings just by telling everybody, like, welcome to Inclusivity Committee. Before we hop into it, you should know this is an informal meeting. You are welcome to join the conversation at any point. I'm thinking about this from the perspective of some other organizing, like other social events that I do. And one of the things that we do at the start of every one of our get-togethers is having like a little, and people that have been coming to these for a long time with me, I think I've been doing this for like 6 years now, make fun of me because they're like, you're gonna say the thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna say the thing because it's part of what we do. But it literally starts with, this is not a formal meeting. I do not expect you to raise your hand. If you can't hear me, if you need me to repeat something, if you didn't catch what was said for whatever reason, please just interrupt me and ask me to like start again. That is an acceptable thing to do here. So I think here having like a little spiel that's something like, it is not a formal meeting, please take a seat at the table. We would love to hear from you. If you have something to add, like feel free to raise your voice at any point. Probably with a note not to talk over people because it is not that kind of a meeting, but that we don't have a formal, you have to submit this ahead of time to be able to make a comment the way that budget committee or whatever does, because this is a very different format.
Yeah.
And maybe in the hand agenda, as you said, like welcome new members perhaps. And I think that when we say our name, like maybe we can add a little something, and then it would give us an idea of who they are. Because I've got to know you coming to the meetings and listening to conversations, but the first meeting is not clear who is who doing what. So yeah.
I have a suggestion. Much like we have our statement about accessibility, what if you could just create, not too long, but something that's a few sentences that's at the top of the agenda, that because it is a different functioning committee.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar, like it just kind of spells out that this is what you can expect out of the meeting. And we can also put that on our calendar, when you click on it, there's information. We could add something like that, as long as it's not too overwhelming, because then people don't read it. Right, but then it's something that you're kind of carrying through at the top of the agenda, on our calendar invites, something like that, and it would give a general.
Yeah, like 2 sentences, just saying.
Yeah, just an idea that it does function differently, because if you come into a park board meeting, you're going to, park board's pretty flexible too, but they're going to say, okay, sit over there and we'll have a moment where we'll let you up, and most other meetings are like that, so maybe something like that.
And to Katie's point where she said, I appreciate that, Chelsea, like adding the point, but where she's like, I didn't know who I was showing up this at. Am I representing La Raza Granutos? Am I Katie, the philomath citizen? And I think from an inclusivity, like, am I Sarah, executive director of Maxtivity? Like, yeah, I got stuff to talk about, but I'm also neurodivergent and a white woman and mother of a disabled child and an artist. Like, and the idea of inclusivity is that we're invited to show up as our whole identity, and that's what makes us richer as a community. And maybe making that statement as a value that that's another way this committee operates. Like, we're coming with lived experience and local wisdom and expertise from multiple identities, and that's unique in how this committee might invite people in, whereas others might be showing up representing a constituency. Just again, to like be Kati, just fair warning, Kati and I do community organizing together and have thought a lot about how public processes can be more welcoming to more folks. And so I think just laying that as the groundwork, and I like that you have the ritual saying, right? It almost creates like something that's like, we rest into this.
Yeah, well, I kind of have to, because these usually start, and I'll show up early, and so it's like, okay, I'm there about 10 minutes before we're actually scheduled to start. People come in. If it's been a few months, there's a lot of, oh my God, how have you been? Blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, this is not really formal, and I don't want to bring it to order, but I do want to get everyone on topic. And the little spiel at the top is like 30 seconds long, and then everybody being like, oh, it's time to like do the work.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something on that note because this is a kind of, I don't know how to call it, an executive meeting perhaps. Like we need to take care of certain business, and so that's why the idea of the Philomath Fellowship came out, because there was it was another space to have deeper conversations and to get to know each other as whole individuals, and because here I think we need to stay on top of on the agenda, and like right now we need to review the community agreements, and so things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also something that we can decide as a committee is like, yes, we're gonna have, and I have some thoughts that I want to share later on about next year's work, but if we decide that, you know, we have a goal and there's things we need to do to meet that goal, but we also want an agenda that sort of breathes and doesn't, you know, mean that we're spending an hour and a half literally just doing work and not work, right? Then we get to decide what that looks like. Like, I don't have to create a full agenda. If we want some more flexibility, right? Like, we want to have a little more space to do that. It doesn't have to be, and like, I want that. I want folks to suggest what we're doing in the meetings. I don't want to be the one that's like, well, we talked about all these things and I guess now I'm going to make an agenda out of it. Like, I want people to be like, I don't like that we talked about this. I want to talk about that. And I'm like, great, I want, so we could easily have kind of that outcome-based agenda, but there can also be more of that. I think we do both.
Just no, I'm loving all of this, and I'm realizing in the vein of that conversation about the kind of giving some background of like, welcome, this is how we operate, and like, feel free to do this or that, or like, if you need to get up and you know, stretch or something, you can do that. I realized that I should probably give a bit more context to the start of the committee. I mean, it's in the introduction, but so like the committee was created by the council and to explicitly come up with a statement based on some community members who urged them to say something about George Floyd's murder because other places had, other cities, towns, states, et cetera, had statements and we didn't. And it was a very enlightening conversation over the span of however many meetings we had. And it eventually, there was conversation about opening it up once that statement had been made. And in those conversations, I don't remember specifically when it became a committee and then like community members could participate, like when this exactly happened, but there was a big focus on trying to, you know, make it less intimidating because like it was, granted we were over Zoom and so things were very different, but you know, trying to figure out ways to make it accessible to people who don't know anything about government or whatever. And so as one of the people who's been there prior to it becoming like a committee where the community could participate as well to now, it's been really cool to see that initial, like, everyone is welcome, everyone has a voice kind of mentality. I feel like there was something else I was going with this and I kind of lost it. I apologize. Oh, that's what it was. Myself, I have had I've now had some training with regards to like social justice principles and practices and stuff, but nowhere near what a lot of you have had. So I am very thankful for thinking about it in this way, because I think we came at it from okay, this is a city committee. how do we take this structure that we know city committees to be, and we didn't come at it from both angles of like, what do we want this group to look like without the, like, we need to get these things done. I don't know. Maybe that's just my perception of it, but so yeah, I guess to make sure it's very long, thank you.
Yeah, to me, it kind of feels like with the work we've been doing the last couple meetings and the conversations we'll have about what next year looks like, I don't know how to say this respectfully, sort of want to like
There'll be more direction.
blow up the current structure of the committee and look at what we can do in the future, right? Like sort of get away from this, like we have a calendar of events that we check in on and like, you know, okay, we said we're going to do a social media event for this group that we've chosen and we do that and then we check off a box. Like I want to sort of look at how this committee could function more broadly and not just kind of in a room where we're making a social media post or a proclamation and then we disappear for a month and no one is thinking about the committee and then we come back and like, and I think that all of this conversation is sort of in line with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I guess like on that note, like personally, granted, yeah, it felt for me when at least when I was co-chair that it felt like I was at least stumbling along. And so like this is really exciting to get more voices. This is the most like new people we've had in this meeting, so it's really cool. Or, you know, like haven't seen in a long time as well. But yeah, it really opens up the conversation.
Amanda, is your, I don't, because I haven't been here, is your thought that you're going to hopefully get to a point where you're posting this online and then you're moving forward with some ideas about next year?
Yeah,
And
so
maybe you would revisit this once you've kind of
so
progressed a little.
one of the things I put in the packet as like a question for the committee is that if we get to a point or if we look at this handbook as it stands and we're generally happy with it or we have some edits we want to make tonight, that Jessica and I can come together, since we're not meeting in November or December, that we can make those edits and then send those out to everybody for review. And if everyone is happy with the finished document, then we can post it and it's on the website so that it's a public document for folks who are applying for committee.
Which we'll be doing soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we have 3 seats open.
I think so.
Like committee members. So for those not familiar, this is a city committee that people can apply to be a voting, we have the language is
Official
committee. So you're appointed by the council to be on the committee. And then other folks are welcome to just come and participate. Basically, there's not really any difference in the room, right? It's more, you need this many people to have it.
It's structured that way to keep it as a city committee that's functioning, right?
It's state public meetings laws also.
So we have 3 spots that are open for people to apply for. And those decisions will be made in January.
Right, yeah, we open those up here in November, December.
Who are the current member or committee members?
It's in the minutes. I don't know if you can still do that.
Raise your hand if you're a committee member.
Yeah, there we go.
Not here, that's a committee member.
Awesome.
That guy is.
Okay.
This guy? This guy?
And then there's 2 others, I think.
I mean, it's because if you say a member, like I am a member, but I'm an official member,
Unofficial member.
Right.
Ah.
Still unofficial.
This committee's a little
we are unofficially
Yeah. Well,
digging into practices of committees.
And to clarify, the main thing is as long as we have a quorum, which is one more than half, so as long as we have 4 people here who are official committee members, then we can hold the meeting. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to. So even though Amanda and I would like to work on this, we can have an additional official committee member or any unofficial committee members also join us. Because that doesn't violate public meetings laws. So,
On the handbook?
cool. Yeah, so just clarifying that, because it's not, yeah, it can get tricky sometimes, but thankfully we have more unofficial than official members.
So I think,
I know how to-
I just want to summarize, so we
Thank
can,
you.
because I want to make sure that we move
Yeah.
ahead. So you've already been working on this, there is
Yes.
going to be opportunity to revisit it at some point.
Yes.
But you do want to try to get it online, because all of the things that you're saying will be more helpful, I think, to people who are applying. If you can say, go to our website and we have a document, even if it's not perfect, and, it's a document, and you can always bring it back home.
Updates can be made to the handbook at any
Right
time
there.
of consensus of the
Okay.
committee.
Great,
Line five.
Baked right in there.
perfect.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm in a today.
So I guess, is there anybody else who wants to meet up with Jessica and I to finalize this or not, or, get it ready to be posted for our potential incoming applicants, of which there will be many.
so many.
So many.
And you're gonna be knocking down the doors tonight. I don't want to hold up posting, but I would welcome I believe in kind of nerding out about process to make better work happen. And so in the future, I'd love to dig into it and clarifying the community agreements that you moved. Where are the community agreements?
The next.
And then that's the next agenda.
Transition.
Are we moving?
I was gonna say,
past that?
to clarify.
How does everyone feel about this document with the
Especially-
highlights? Is there anything that people want to add?
Especially the ones where I said that it's workshop language and I have no idea if I hit concepts.
Jessica would like someone else to say, that looks good, Jessica. Or maybe
Give me other
let's
words.
adjust something else. Okay.
Yellow?
The highlighted.
No,
Is that what you're
the highlighted stuff is what we agreed to
Oh.
last meeting.
Your
So to
comments.
clarify, this is the 3rd time we're seeing this document. And so, right? Yeah, the 3rd time. And so in the comment, there's a couple comments that says workshop language. I think it's just on the first page. There's 3 of them. And then in the notes, I have information on what I believe, like how I interpreted the committee discussion of regarding that. And yeah, I don't know if I.
Where page part?
Like where the notes are.
Page 8.
On page 8. So this is coming out of other discussions that you had, and then you
It was
kind of
last
made
meeting.
some edits.
Yeah, in
based with that.
September. It was,
Okay.
yeah, so number 4 had said, number 4 was 4 and 5 were together, and then we split it apart. And
So in your comment, the number 1 and number 2 are your suggestions
yeah,
to change? Number 5?
the blue language are the track changes. Those are what I put in there. So the way that this is reading is, so line 24, 25. I deleted prioritizing accessibility because it was part of another bullet. And then I tried to elaborate on it by saying building accessibility considerations of all kinds into committee actions and communications, because the discussion was on that there's many ways to make something accessible, and that it'd be nice to make it more explicit. And then I included some of the examples that we had talked about. And so then for line 26, 27, that one was facilitating communication between city leadership and underrepresented communities. And we had discussed that the intent of that was more so it wasn't, the intent wasn't matching the words. The intent had been more related to civic engagement and, improving representation within our local government to more accurately reflect our population here in Philomath, and, especially people from underrepresented communities. And so the language I put there was promoting civic engagement, particularly among those from underrepresented demographics. And then for line 30, I deleted potential improvements, that's what it was. We had just talked about how we wanted to highlight our wins, because this is a long process and there can be lots of setbacks, and we shouldn't be discouraged, because it's good to be hopeful.
Can I add something to that too?
Yes.
I'm glad that's in there. I guess my only thing is I don't know if accomplishments is the right word, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know what is. I feel like for a long time this committee was sort of like the everyone come and complain about what sucks in Philomath committee, which is valuable. But exactly. But I also felt like it left out that there are a lot of good things happening in Philomath too. And I think this committee needs to be both, celebrate the good, work on the bad, or the, areas for improvement. And so I like that that's in there, just because I felt like for a long time I came to these meetings and I was like, well, this sucks, let's go home. And I never actually saw that turn into much. So I think we're moving in a more positive, not to say we shouldn't talk about what sucks, but just
balance.
But yeah, I think it also I think it doesn't do justice to all the work that has been done and to the community members that are making a really positive difference. So, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of things to struggle through, try to figure out even just the structure and, how we operate. Clearly we're still working on it.
What's for 7 instead of accomplishments? Growth, or celebrating our growth and inviting our community? Because it's coming from all sectors, the improvements needing to be made, the growth that has been work that has been done. So in general, we can always keep improving and growing. So that's, to me, that if this is my handbook, this is what I would. It's just a suggestion.
I appreciate that.
My only thing with that, using the word growth in the context of a city government. Maybe progress.
She actually moved from growth to work.
Yeah.
Celebrating the work.
Yeah.
That can mean a lot of different.
I feel like, work or progress or something.
Worked. I think worked better.
Right?
I didn't think work. I was thinking
Yeah, me
work.
too.
Yeah.
That's a good.
You actually said work, and I was like, hang
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Seriously.
And also, I've been thinking today, especially about the word vulnerable communities, but I don't know how you feel about it or how does it sound. It says here from underrepresented demographics. But, I don't know if I think there's a difference between those that are not represented and those that more attention
Yeah.
and more support.
That's the equity part of it. I like that.
Under-resourced.
I'm sorry?
Under-resourced.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Another question I had on number 5 is around civic engagement. Like the word civic engagement is still connotates an us and them, and I would say like participation, right? Like promoting civic engagement and inviting collaborative participation from the community, right? To show up and do work together, right?
Yeah.
That's
I like that.
engagement is more like sitting at a booth and or sharing social media.
Yeah.
It's a CV item.
And I'm wondering, because I was the one that derailed the whole process about talking about practicing like your objectives and the way that you invite, like host the meetings is, would that be included in building accessibility considerations, or would that be like practicing inclusivity? Like, where would you like kind of explicitly name the way this committee is operating in its objectives? Accessibility, I think of like technical, and inclusivity is more of a norming, but that might be beyond the scope of this feedback session in Chelsea.
It's not a move on, but I do think it's helpful if we have a document. I have not been to an inclusivity committee meeting for a while, so I haven't been involved in this, but I can see your pathway, and that I do think that it's good because it is one of the things that's not always accessible or obvious to people is knowing what they're applying for and why. And we don't have this for really anything. I chair or staff the park board, and we have some kind of differences on that park board that we've tried to come out with when we do have openings, because we discovered people just don't even know what they're doing. And so I do think it's important to get something, whatever that is, so that that people do have an idea. And I think you'll get a better response to people applying if they feel safer coming into it. Like, oh, look at all this information about what's going on in those meetings. So that's my only real opinion. You can do what you want and push this, but I think I like where you're headed.
I think also like this isn't, like the Constitution. We can always come back and change it.
And we did talk about that
Yeah.
before, fashionably.
I was trying, I was, as Amanda likes to say, I was trick or treating. Just going to people's doors, offering things.
I thought you were reverse trick or treating with this, and I'm like, I also think that this conversation is really bringing something, sort of crystallizing something in my brain, which is the expectations of because not everybody gets the email with the agenda. Like if you sign up on the website, you get the text that has like, and that's for anybody. So if you're interested in any committee, you can get a text when the agenda comes out and know what's going on. But there's a sort of different expectation between appointed committee members and how they engage with the packet versus like, I mean, we don't want people to just show up and be like, this isn't on your packet, but I want to talk about this thing. I mean, you could, I guess, and we could decide how to handle that. But I wouldn't expect someone who's never been to a meeting to have read the packet and know exactly what the context of that is. And I would want to include them, but also, so I feel like there's some sort of inclusivity piece there, like how to include people who don't have the context without having to do like a 45-minute PowerPoint sort of like situation, which I find very interesting, and I think we can be better at.
Yeah, perhaps it would be more Well, that could be something to talk about
Yeah,
later.
but
Yeah, because I think the minutes help, like reading the minutes that are included in the packet helps do what was reviewed and then the follow-up in.
But that's something that you could kind of make there's a little cheat sheet for
Yeah.
folks. That's like
It's true.
at the top of the page.
yeah,
because,
and I think that I can also,
again, everyone knows that.
one of the things, like, when I make an agenda, I in my brain assume how long a certain section is gonna take based on what I think we're gonna talk about, which is completely incorrect. Because it is, and I should know this by now because I've been doing this for a while, and I should know that my expectation is not, like, we always spend way more time on the thing that I don't think we're gonna spend any time on. And so maybe as we're going through the agenda at the beginning, like, this is kind of how much time we have to spend on these things. And if we don't get to a thing, like, it's fine, we can move it somewhere else or whatnot. But
And to clarify that, pretty much all of the agendas are essentially, they're mostly built by the committee. Like, we discuss it at the end to see, like, what else do we want to talk about next meeting and such. Every once in a while, there'll be something that we forgot to bring up or put on. But really quickly, I want to make sure that I have correct notes on and make sure that there's consensus. So work, celebrating our work and inviting our community to participate with us. So everyone is fine with work as opposed to accomplishments for line 30.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Got that one. We talked about underrepresented, vulnerable, under-resourced. I wasn't quite sure what we were feeling on that. Does anyone have any strong opinions about what word to use there? That's line 26.
I think, so particularly among those, particularly among some of our most vulnerable population, or vulnerable and underrepresented population could be one. Demographics is great, but like, before I move into this, this is what really is giving me an itch of this is I love everything that's in here, but if we have a community member who does not speak the language, yes, easy, we say, we can translate this, right? Is this literate to them? Is this where instead of it all written, can it be a video? Can it be an audio message? Can it be more inviting? Because I understand all of this terminology, but I'm just thinking in the hat of like a community member who integrates and says, I am just like you, regardless of where I stand and who I am. I'm listening to you and what works that brings you to the table and you know that you have and deserve the seat here too. So that's not where I'm getting this at, yes, I understand this and I'm like all for it. And this is how I write when I have to, address some different populations, right? But I just think we need to make it more inviting.
Oh, totally.
And so when I'm saying this and I'm like, how do I make this or flex it where it is? I'm just like, okay, if I'm saying most vulnerable populations are underrepresented, I'm like, yeah, that's for someone that in this table we can understand. But as much as I'm trying to, I'm just like, but there's a part in me that doesn't want to move forward with that unless there's others who will understand. And the ones that I'm speaking of, I'm talking about the Spanish-speaking families I represent.
I totally understand that, and completely agree with you. I come from a science background, and so my brain has it's a little hard sometimes to get away from. I try to be precise, which is why I have a lot of notes about like, I think this is what we were talking about. Help me find these words. But for the sake of this, like being able to post it, because like I think we can definitely go back and like, make it more approachable. But that I think it might take too much time to do before. Well, I mean, we can try. We can definitely try, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is like what word is supposed to go there, because I want to make sure that I'm being precise,
So I
and
want to
then we
make
can find a
a,
way to do it.
I want to make a
Does that
recommendation.
sound okay?
So I think that, because we only have 20 minutes left, I'm going to say we finish the 20 minutes working on this handbook, because this, we want to go out. The community agreements is something that I think maybe
It's a bonus.
we work on with the next year's committee. We decide as a January committee, whoever is joining this meeting, we're not going to make community agreements for you to, for our first meeting. We just made these last meeting, and now you have to follow it. So maybe we do that as a community building thing.
It's a good way, laying the groundwork
Yeah.
first.
And then we can talk about, so we'll spend part of the meeting talking about community agreements and what we expect from each other as a group. And then we'll spend the rest of the meeting talking about what do we want to achieve this year? What are our goals? And that will be how we start January. And then we can spend the next 20 minutes getting the handbook into a place where it's shiny-ish.
I think
Needs to
one
be
thing is that, you work for different organizations, you're involved with different, you work for, I think, we're involved with different organizations from a city government. So this is a very city government document, but this does not mean this has to be the only
Right.
thing. This is we have lots of documents, right? I have an employee handbook that is not approachable. When I sit down with employees, I gauge where they are, their understanding, are they coming from private sector, public sector, and I'm explaining things to them and having a conversation that's very different from my document. And so I think this is a starting place so that we have a document for this very formal city business committee that you have to have. And then that you're, like you said, kind of translating this, so to speak, in whatever ways that needs to be so that it makes more sense to other people. I was recently at a conference where one city was, I know everyone's a little controversial on AI, but they were using AI to rewrite some of their code language that a lot of people are trying to access and understand. And it was just, it's not understandable unless you are working in an environment where you read city code a lot. And so I found that very interesting because it was, sure, they still had their very technical document that was in their code, but they were trying to find ways to make it just make sense to more people. And the way that I see this is kind of like, it's that document that's useful and it's a good place to start, but it's going to give you a place to have all of that work, in the next year where you're working on these things and saying, we have this language, but you should like the words and you should agree to what's in here. But I do think that there's opportunity to make it more simplified and just make sense to more people. So you don't have to do that all for this document. This is not the only document that you can have, and it's not the only way that you can reach people. Like if you come up with something that's easier, we'll put it out there,
Yeah, I was going to say that precisely, that this is not the only way to reach people out. And actually, I think that these documents have their place in the government and are important as such. And it's very controversial. Now I'm thinking that in Germany, they make something like a simple language that is more inclusive for immigrants. And it's very controversial. Like, why would you not expect them to have a level of language command to be able to understand by themselves those documents and have the same information that a German speaker would have? And so I think it has pros and cons, but I do think that this document does not represent entirely the work that as members of the committee we can do in reaching out in the community. And I think being at the farmers market and speaking to people and speaking to the people that we know about the work that we do, it's also a maybe better way of approaching and reaching out to those members of the community that might need participation.
Absolutely. At the same time, to your point, I think a lot about this for people that don't have this context. My sibling is an attorney. And so I'm used to talking with her. And when you are actually preparing stuff for court, like it's super technical. There's reasons people go to law school, right? But when you're actually making oral arguments and whatnot in court, you are talking to people using simplified language. The goal is to talk to people at what she says is a 5th grade level. So you're not going to bring all your like fancy, SAT words out. So I think like for the document like this, like it's important that we get everything down and that we have it in language that we understand and can all agree on and come together on. At the same time, when we're doing outreach, when we're trying to like introduce new members and whatnot, we do need to be cognizant of like what we are trying to do and how we're trying to reach them. Are we making sure that we're understood? I think one of the things that we can include with the document is like, it is a living document. As Chris said, it's not the Constitution. We can go ahead and modify it if we need to. One of the things that I want to make clear is that if somebody doesn't understand part of it, like as part of our work and part of our practice, we can be like, here is what we intended. Like, can we make it clearer to you? So I don't think it needs to be perfectly like everybody will understand this. It's simplified English Wikipedia or anything. But I do think like we need to be aware, there are going to be areas of friction. There are going to be parts where people are like, hang on, I don't get what you meant here. There's going to be problems with translation. It's not going to be perfect, but we can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right?
And just to go back to what Kathy was saying, just having a different mode, like a video, that will give us a chance to put this into a different register to help.
It's a practice.
It's good at making videos.
Christopher's a great
I-
idea.
It may have gotten. But speaking of precision in language, a question I have is about underrepresented demographics versus kind of identities and lived experiences. Demographics feels like a census category,
Sure.
right? And it homogenizes those categories, those boxes we check. And so it's just kind of, I understand like don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, but also being intentional about the ways we're
Yeah, for sure.
inviting
I think populations was being
I
suggested.
I think this is what we
But
were
that's
just
what I
talking
said.
about.
Yeah. But, and so like, I guess, if anyone has a specific example, I know I had specifically said underrepresented, but like, I realized as I said it that underrepresented and demographics, anyone have any thoughts on how to change that?
I would just put underrepresented communities.
Yes.
I feel like that's usually what I use at work, but just because I feel like community makes you feel warm.
Can we use residents?
I'd like to use community,
Population.
Or
I don't like to,
is, because if you're not in
Resident,
Philomath, you're, yeah,
well,
I
yeah.
I can just like feel
I-
like hovering.
it's true.
But then also was this before you got here? We were talking about represented versus vulnerable versus under-resourced students.
Hard to remember.
So what are you after? I mean, I guess that's the
Well,
question.
I
Those
mean,
all
that is the
do mean
question.
different things.
Yeah.
What do you think there's a need for that line? What,
It's not at this table.
right,
Yeah.
like what
Yeah.
is there need for? And I think demographics is, right, that's very government, and we're saying from a demographic standpoint, are there people at the table that are representing the community by numbers? Is there 1% and 5%? And that's very technical, and I don't think that's probably what you're after. But what are you after?
Well, and then the whole
That's the big question.
underrepresented thing of like, well, are we talking about, well, yeah, anyway.
I mean, underrepresented or marginalized identities.
I was gonna say historically marginalized because it's like an approach of saying like this historically has happened, and then this committee, we are making change. We do not abide or think that way, so, and so we're just like acknowledging that is a population or the historically marginalized communities or, population. And so it's like, you acknowledge that, but regardless, like you're still pushing forward and inviting, because although in the moment I like the community piece that Chris or Christopher was mentioning. But I'm just saying, like, if there's Latina community members here that don't feel like they have a sense of community themselves, how can we say that that's already something that's happening here when they should already be at this table? So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I think historically marginalized is really good because you hit on the we're trying to do better. We're trying to bring everybody to the table.
Yep, that's
We also
exactly right.
recognize,
And just to clarify, when I was thinking about vulnerable, I was thinking about poor people, and I don't know if that has to do with an identity, and so I think that underrepresented does not cover that aspect of society.
It's a lived experience that is growing, that often doesn't have a voice at the table when decision making is happening, and that experience has important wisdom and insight that could make work better.
Yeah.
And so I like that, is like thinking about making sure that the words don't lock out other people who need to be here.
Yeah, I agree. I just feel like people overuse incorrectly the term underrepresented in these things when what they mean is, because it's Philomath. If we wanted accurate representation, like 90% of all our committees would be white people, but that's not actually what we're really talking about wanting to do. So I just feel like, like I'm probably the most underrepresented group in this room because as far as I know, I'm the only man here. But I don't know if that's really our focus from what we're talking about. So,
Well, Chris is usually here,
I know.
so.
But still, you get my point. I'm
Yes.
just like we use that term to mean something else.
It depends on
Yeah. But seriously, right? I mean, because
what scale are you talking
exactly,
about?
right. I don't know if our goal is actually fairly accurate representation.
Yeah.
It's not, it shouldn't be.
My question is it's a goal, but at what point are you ever going to say this is enough? Because I don't think you
Right.
will. There's
Right.
always going to be room for more. It's more of a.
Of course.
Because the world is always changing.
Yep, exactly.
I'd be like,
I don't-
whoa, whoa,
well, we're
whoa,
good.
we have
We're
enough ladies
good.
at the
We can cross that one off.
So then, okay, so I'm hearing historically marginalized communities, populations.
Folks. It's our very government term. Folks. Folks.
Okay. And then earlier, Sarah, you had.
I'm sorry. Oh, no, you're good on the folks. So.
Oh my God, I see it a lot. I do other organizing and I see it a lot in racial justice contexts where it's white people trying to be inclusive and it's like, please just sit down. There's not room for you at this table.
Sarah, you had started to say like
I would say historically
No, sorry. I meant for the civic engagement part.
promoting civic engagement and participation, particularly among those from underrepresented, historically, what did you just say? Historically marginalized populations. And I would say diverse lived experiences, guys.
Yes, I like that too.
Like in addition to that.
Yeah. Because it's not just the altar of grievances. It's like we have a richness in the diversity that lives here, right? And that richness is not all coming from a place of like we're here to talk about oppression. We're here to like celebrate the assets that we all bring to the table as diverse lived experiences in the insight. So I just would kind of, and it's also more inclusive. And would invite, a lot of cities might not name seniors as a targeted identity group that needs a space and resources, right? And having like diverse lived experiences is like a way to bring more insight to the table. Like grandparents raising their grandchildren. That doesn't, that's a lived experience that has insight and wisdom. So that's all but I can drop the participation if you give me lived experience. I'm here to compliment.
Don't bargain against yourself.
Yes, and yes.
All your agendas.
I don't know if
Are you really?
they're gonna send you an application to this committee every day for them.
I'm going to send you our learning agenda about how we invite new voices to participate while getting the work done.
By text message every day for the next 2 minutes.
Okay, so to clarify, since we only have 4 more minutes till 7, promoting civic engagement and participation, particularly among those from historically marginalized populations and lived experiences.
Diverse.
Sorry, what did I say?
Diverse.
Oh, thank you. And diverse. Does that sound accurate? And then I feel like there was one, we were talking about accessibility and practicing inclusion. Okay, so line 24. I heard something, correct me if I'm wrong, building accessibility considerations and practicing inclusion of all kinds
I think that building accessibility considerations of all kinds into committee actions and communications and practicing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And practicing inclusive
Inclusivity.
practices,
And practicing inclusivity.
oh yeah, practicing inclusive practices doesn't make sense.
I mean, you can say that if you want, though.
It's just repetitive.
It'd be repetitive. Well, getting it in there.
Anyway, okay, cool. So to clarify, building accessibility building accessibility considerations of all kinds into committee actions and communications and practicing inclusivity. Any objections? So those are the 3 that I heard. Except celebrating our work. We did that one. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to propose that if there's anyone who wants to do any sort of before you came this out to the committee. What would be because when the applications would go.
I think they open in December. Do we usually open those in December?
That sounds right.
Sounds right. No, don't pretend like you don't know.
I don't know when they open. I know
I
when
feel
they
it.
close.
Someone else, me too. Someone else opens them.
So with the goal of having this finished and locked in by to be posted in November.
Within like 2 weeks, it would be great.
So
Then we
if
should be.
anybody wants to meet up within the next 2 weeks to go over this so we can finish it, we'll send it out to the committee after we'll take out all the track changes and just send the finished document to the committee over email since we're not meeting. And anybody else who would like to see it before we finalize it. Yeah.
I have one more comment in here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
Page 10, line 27, I move that we strike. Well, let me put my glasses on because I cannot read this very well. We recognize that every committee member is,
Oh,
That we strike a volunteer place. Just say donating their valuable time, because that is actually liability, workers' comp. Yeah, line 27 on page 10, after we just went through our whole volunteer policy and insurance and.
Chelsea, I want you to know, I had like a 20-minute conversation with someone at their door earlier, trying to explain the liability of why the city couldn't fix their fence.
You can have them call me.
So-
I'll talk to them. But to keep, keep the acknowledgement of every committee member is donating their valuable time. Just remove the word volunteer because it is a trigger word for other things in the city. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. I think that the sentiment is still very much there. Sorry.
No,
That's a part of my job. That's just like.
appreciate
it.
This was, Christopher and I were just having it.
You can tell me the story later.
Yeah. Well, it's just risk liability.
A lot.
If anyone has a desire to keep doing this.
On that note, I don't know if you already talked about this, but in addition to hopefully more people joining us in January, that's also when the city council shuffles our committee appointments. So I haven't even surveyed the councilors to know what they would like, but there's a chance that either Jessica and or I won't be here. And or Diane, sorry, yeah, won't be here on this committee anymore and someone else will be, just because we do that process every January to assign the council liaisons. And again, I don't know what will happen. I do know both Jessica and I have been on here for like 4 or 5 years, so it may be good to swap out at least one of us and get a fresh face, but we'll talk about that later. But just to say that if you come back next year and one of us or both of us or whatever isn't here, it's nothing personal. It's just that we try to rotate the committees a little bit for each council, because I think it's also good. We don't want this to just be like the me and Jessica and Diane committee. Like, we want other councilors to know what you all do here, and so that they can represent that, and when they vote on things, they know what this committee does. So I just wanted to say that, since we probably won't see each other again until then.
And the reason for that is because we can't have a quorum of the city council.
Yes, yeah.
That's the only reason why
There
we
are
have
more.
to exclude.
Yeah, if there's 4 city councilors in a room, it's legally a city council meeting. And we don't want this to be a city, like, I mean, nothing, it's just, this is a separate meeting. Yeah. And then there's more, public notice and everything. So that's why we have to keep it to no more than 3 of us here.
Another legal issue.
Another legal issue.
There will be another city council member that is part of this committee.
They may swap out.
Just every January. Yeah. So just every January, I survey the councilors, and then the mayor is in charge of appointing 3 councilors to each of our committees. And that often shuffles a little bit each year, just.
Liaisons with.
Yeah.
They do that too.
Yeah, so, again, I have not even begun the conversation of seeing what the councilors want, but I just wanted to say that since.
It wasn't a shock.
Until then, yeah.
Diane is not there, but there were updates on the Sensational Senior Society and the upcoming activities on the October 30th at Fitness Over 50, on December 9th at the Fire Department, on January 13th at the library, and we'll see each other.
If you or Diane or Jane want to send that to me, I can forward that out to the committee via email.
Yes. Okay, amazing.
So then.
Well,
Yeah.
so our next meeting will be the
call it secret
27th of January, and we'll put stuff on the agenda. We'll do the community agreements and plan for welcome. Yeah, so it'll be a whole new year. Thanks everyone for coming and being.
So we'll be
And then
welcome.
Your question here is for next year. Imagine the time and resources.
yeah, that'll be the first question of next year. What little imaginations running.
That's why I like it.
I didn't realize I was stealing it from you until you were like, yeah.